Okay, my name is Mario Magay, and I'm an associate professor at Alumni State University, and I'm also the 4-H outreach specialist with the extension service here at the Alumni State University in Corvallis.
Hi everyone, my name is Jessica Casas. I'm a second year here at Oregon State University. I'm a sociology major, and I'm here to see the future of OSU and the current programs and things and the support we have here at Oregon State University as a Latino student.
I'm Steve Vega from the Salem community, indigenous community.
Harry Broker from the School of OSU.
Susana Rivera Mills with the College of Liberal Arts at OSU.
My name is Benjamin, and my indigenous name is Amukiawi, which means second rank. I'm a part of Floricanto and Suchilipica, not proper organization, but also I'm a capitano del grupo Mexicatiawi, the dance group. Our leader is Rigoberto Capitano Pauti, that was the students was one of the founders of Mexicatiawi.
Juan Guzman, retired educator and interested spectator.
Loren Chavarria, community member, educator, supporter.
Lupe Garcia, first year here at Oregon State.
Ana Lu Fonseca. I work at Outreach and Engagement and Lynn and Benton counties, and I am an OSU alumni.
Oscar Montenegro, Agricultural Student Services.
Amparo Mata, second year student here at OSU, major in Spanish and education.
Alison Davis White, Intercultural Student Services.
Elena Chavarria, Casa Latinos Unidos de Benton County.
Alessa Leo Guerrero, second year student in Spanish and Ethnic Studies.
Adrian Castro, OSU alumni, and also a teacher out in the community, educator. So we're just doing introductions, so if you can kind of just, introduce, present yourselves and just briefly.
My name is Agustin. I'm a 5th year senior studying ethnic studies in English.
My name is Rodolfo Villegas. I study Spanish and minor in business.
My name is Herman Serrano. I am a pre-physical therapy major.
So everybody, the food's ready. You want to start with that and come back for it.
Dr. Roper finished up with, we did a little bit of introductions, but I know there's some new people. We'll get, as we have conversations, I think that'll just be great to keep on reminding ourselves, who we are and what we're doing, and reminding each other the names, because I think we want to also make it personal so that we get to know each other. But Mario's going to be pulling out just the agenda, because I know it's important to kind of structure our time so that we'll be more effective. So there's some things that we gotta talk about. I know the conversation is never an easy conversation when we bring so many wonderful people and so many beautiful minds. So
La agenda rapidez, ¿no?
Oh yeah, but we're gonna set some things on the agenda,
Sure. So again, meeting with the three of you all really felt a need for a conversation, and I was hoping that you all could maybe provide some context for the group around what you were hoping for in this conversation, and why it was important for us to get together.
So then the context, just putting the context, that's important. So we can proceed that way. All right. You want to start with our interaction, or like how we?
Just start with your.
We got a wonderful invitation, to come. This kind of started when the Cultural Center, right? The Cultural Center was opening, and it also started with a great relationship we've had with the university. We were OSU alumni. We graduated from OSU, but also had a lot of great interactions with the university, and so that's where also people that have shared part of that history, it's important, because as Latino students coming to higher education, You know, we've been part of this institution, some of the alumni here for 20 years, but we started finding out there was decades before us, and time before us, there was other Latino alumni. So we just want to definitely recognize, you know, that they're part of the conversation. They're part of you know, Dr. Juan Guzman, you know, Dr. Vera Roper, but also Elena. You know, who else is an OSU alumni for a while back? What year?
2010.
2010. Dr. Juan Guzman, if you mind sharing.
78.
78. Elena?
86, 86.
86. Agustin?
97.
97. Mario?
99, and 97, 99, both.
Yeah. Then Oscar?
87.
87.
92.
And so also, you know, we've been, Oscar has been also an advisor working within different programs here in OSU, and I graduated in 2000, and then I think 99 first, and then 2000 with a master's. So the context is we presented, you know, we had a wonderful invitation to come and be part of the invitation that Oscar had sent about coming here to witness the beautiful, this facility, right, the renovation of this facility. But I think our work goes even deeper to some interactions that we've had also with OSU. And it's the essential question, I guess, would be, how do we best, you know, create a campus that's open to various cultures, but at the same time, how do we best create a campus for Latinos, you know, for Latinos and others that are trying to also learn about our community in their quest of doing great work. So we have a lot of experience in the room, you know. So that's a little bit of the context. We presented a proposal, you know, to the president. We like to be transparent, you know, and when we talk to people in that way, found it a great opportunity since OSU had a great philanthropic success, you know, with raising over $600 million for the OSU, and then the president announcing that, you know, they had reached $1 billion here publicly here in the Cultural Center. We kind of knew that was happening too, because we have heard from different people that the OSU success. That interesting. Many times when we were going through camp, through the OSU experience, sometimes Latinos have some very unique needs. You know, so putting it into context, when we came through OSU, maybe there was no ethnic studies, there was no 4 educational offices, there was no great focus on Latinos. There was camp. We had camp. We had EOP, and those programs are still here. We had and so when we were going through here, it was rather interesting and challenging to be also a student, a Chicano Latino student. So we found that even though we were part of camp, that many of us were dropping out. The dropout, we were concerned. That's when we started engaging the universities. Like, hey, can we do something? Because it's not just that we come to OSU, but that we stay and graduate from OSU. That's a little bit of the context, and the proposal that we presented to OSU is also that, how do we stay as alumni and Latinos engaged with OSU so that OSU best serves the Latino community? How do we also stay in contact with new faces on campus? That's when I had a visit with Dr. Roper, and he said, Adrian, and you know, you should really be in contact with the people that are here, you know, the new leadership of also OSU, so that OSU alumni can also be better connected. You know, so that's when I started calling some people around and just finding out who was here, to find out what ways that we more meaningfully engage. That's a little bit of the context. Dr. Roper, you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you've done a really good job with that, and I think the purpose of the conversation is to figure out what next. I mean, so like where do we go from here beyond sort of the concept of a relationship to what is the actual relationship, and what are the actual efforts that need to be undertaken?
There's some space, and I know there's some people outside, and so we want to even make more space if we could. Understand? Pass me. So we know. So you're right. The next steps, and I think setting things in context with the statistics that are out there. You know, even Angelo Gomez was sharing some statistics that are kind of troubling. You know, with our community. Our community is growing, and as a Latino community, we're also concerned because we work in many places. And so I just wanted to also invite Mario. I said, Mario, you do a lot of also work with the Latino community, and you know, what are some statistics? That's when he said, oh, you know what, I did a wonderful presentation. So I invited Mario to also share some of the statistics that you have found about Latinos to kind of maybe also set the larger context. We're not in a vacuum. This is something that's happening, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Well, one of the things that I just put in the title is about 300 of years, you know, of inequality, you know, for most of the minorities here in this country. You know, how can we recover that situation that has been happening for 300 years in the United States? And an article, you know, last month came up with say that 1 of 4 Latinos will graduate in 2020 with a high school diploma. And the situation is now, are we prepared, you know, to receive 1 of 4 students at Oregon State University to help them to be successful? We might be able to receive them, but can we help them to become successful? That's the question that we're going to pursue. How can we, as Oregon State University, you know, be prepared for those days that are coming very soon? They're already in the corner here. So I'd like to share more information and statistics. See, like one of the things that say, you know, 1 in 4 students graduating from high school can be Latino, but 1 of 4 students admitted to OSU can be Latino as well. So sometimes we think about the future, but it seems to me that in order for us to recover, we have to start thinking now. You know, next year should be our effort. You know, say next year 1 in 4 students admitted to OSU should be Latino. Otherwise, we'll not be able to recover in the future. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what's the difference about equity and inequality. So the nationwide has the same statistics almost in Oregon. You know, 1 in 4 Latinos now born in the United States is Latino. So it's kind of, yes, in the 2012, it's going to be Latino. And then one of the things to say, you know, that most of the Latinos are not probably, which I call the game, but they are not really into the education readiness because of the lack of opportunities or information. And the other thing, say now, in 2050, 50% of the workforce should be Latinos. And one of the things they say, if we don't prepare, you know, Latinos at the present moment, you know, 50% of the population will have to have only about 11% college degrees. So we really need to do something to increase the college degree graduation. Otherwise, our workforce in the United States is going to be in jeopardy or very difficult to compete with worldwide corporations or other countries. One of the things that probably most of you know the amount of Latinos here in the United States, but this statistics show that it's 53 million people in the United States, and there's a 50% increase since 2000. That means from 1970 to 2012 has doubled 6 times the amount of people. And then from 2000 to 2012, it doubles the population. That means almost like in 12 years, the population has doubled from 50% to the 53 million people. And then this is another thing. You know, many people are asking, you know, why the population among Latinos is growing so fast compared to other ethnic groups. And this is very simple. You know, when we talk about, you know, I'm trying to compare most of these graphics with Caucasian people, but in this case, you know, the Caucasian population is growing at 1% rate compared to Latinos at 167% rate. Now, that means that's the rate that helps to double the population in 12 years in this country. Now, the same is kind of the same amount, you know, the same rate for Asian Americans, but the thing is that the number of Asian Americans in this nation at the moment is very small compared to Latinos in this country. And the other thing is, in 2000 to 2012 to 2011, Latinos in this country were 50% born in this country. But at the present day, 60% of the children born in this country are Latinos. So that means that 6 of every 10 people born in the United States are Latinos. And we are born more Latinos than all the other ethnic groups combined in this country. And sometimes when we talk about the difference, about ethnic groups, Latino groups in the United States, and most of the people say, why Venezuelans and people from Cuba are graduating at a much higher rate than people from Guatemala or El Salvador. Let's talk about people from Venezuela. 51% have a college graduation rate, but people from El Salvador and Guatemala, they have only 7% rate. And the situation is probably for most of us know that most of the Latinos that come from El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Mexico, they are from low-income families. And most of the people that come from Cuba, Venezuela, Argentina, El Salvador, Chile, most of them are professionals that come to this country already with understanding about the educational system. Most of them already come with some type of college or master's or PhD degrees. So that saying is they are in a much higher level when they arrive to this country than most of our parents that come here with only elementary or middle school education. So that's part of the situation that we have very low percent rate among Latinos. Like, for example, in Latinos in Oregon, we have only 11% graduation rate compared to people from Venezuela, 51% graduation rate. And the general student population is about 13%, but that is going to change in the near future. One of the things in there, what is needed, one of the things that I would like to mention is that many people talk about equity and equality, and those are the things that it's very difficult for us to catch up if we don't use the equity philosophy. To adopt the equity philosophy to accomplish equality, because we have been in disadvantage for 300 years. If we don't change the way of thinking, we are going to continue to be in the hole. Because for 300 years we not even have accomplished equality. So in order for us to move from this situation that most of the ethnic groups are, we have to start thinking about equity. And this is one of the things that the graphic that I borrowed from another organization. This is how this is like for example of 3 children. Like for example, all those 3 children they have like a step, right? This kid in the right, let's say we can just compare. So this could be a white kid, and this can be an African American kid, and this can be a Latino kid. Just making examples, right? So the Caucasian kid, he's able to see the game very well, but this kid, regardless of the step, he cannot see the game. So that's equality, right? Giving the same resources and the same opportunities to everybody. That's equality, right? But this kid is in so much disadvantage. And this is the situation, not just for Latinos, I was the example, but this is the situation for most of the African Americans in this country. This is the same situation for Native Americans, and this is the same situation for Latinos. And we have to start thinking about this philosophy, how can we continue, with this equality situation? We have to stop, the thinking about equality and move to the equity. We have to because for 300 years, the Caucasian kids or the Caucasian population, they have received, most of the resources of this country. So how can this kid, provide a step? Now, all kids can play the game, right? So when everybody this kid will still be able to play the game very well because he has the knowledge, he has the resources, he has the family background, he speaks the language. And most of these kids, they might have the resources, but they don't have the knowledge about how to apply for college. And most of these ethnic groups here, they lack of almost about everything. Their parents, most of them, they never went to college. the same situation, probably most of them cannot pay their college education for their kids. So somehow they have to rely on something else. Most of them, they don't have the information that they need. Most of the time, they don't have the skills that they need to apply for college, or the skills to apply for financial aid, or the skills to apply for scholarships or other source of information. And most of the time, these kids have no money to pay to go to after-school activities. Most of our Latino kids and African American, Native American kids, they are not in after-school activities because they are too expensive. In Salem, there are soccer teams that they charge, kids between $800 and $1,500 to participate in a team. Most of the Latino kids and Native American kids, they cannot participate in the soccer teams. Sometimes they will give a couple of scholarships for kids who are very successful. But let's say only 1% of the Latino kids are playing soccer in soccer clubs. Why? Because the situation here that they don't have the funding and they don't have the opportunities. So we have to allocate, more resources to be able for these kids to be able to play the game. And this is just explanation about what I say, but so this is just the situation that we have to start thinking about. How can we, work with the president, work with the other deans and department chairs. This is what we need to do. We have to focus now in equality instead of focusing in equity. Any questions?
Well, thank you, Mario, for sharing some information. Is there any responses?
Comments?
Or your experience with this graphic? I just know that sometimes as an educator working inside the school district, we were asked to really bring the kids up to par. I mean, at 4th grade, they were already behind. We have some educators here too. So we can see that sometimes to get the kids where they need to be, it just takes a lot more resources, a lot more opportunities, and we're starting to see the shift, the dialogue, the national conversation on what are the partnerships in order to equalize the level ground. And I know in the past we've talked about that, so what are the programs that students need in order to be successful at OSU? So.
And that one thing that I'd like to mention, this is just an example. I don't mean that every Caucasian kid has this, is in this situation. There are thousands of Caucasian kids in rural communities who are in this situation.
Poverty, or maybe it's more of
but there are thousands of kids. There are not just few Caucasian kids. There are thousands of kids who are in the same situation as this kid there.
So it's really interesting to all of you here are familiar with some statistics, but poverty is just that way. I had a professor walk me through one of the neighborhood, and African Americans were learning English and Spanish, but poverty also limit their access to resources, and so we have to get really creative, because she says, Castro, I don't think you're prepared. When I was finishing my master's, I don't think you're prepared to really deal with the situation in the community. We have to think of how we're going to level the playing field in poverty. We also have to think groups, but also poverty, because sometimes, even in the case of our Latinos, sometimes we're first generation in poverty,
and there are many Latinos who are in this situation as well. There are many African Americans who are in this situation. Doesn't mean that all Caucasians are in this situation. That was just a drastic example that I used to call your attention.
So,
I just have a question. Just playing devil's advocate. Some of the Caucasians, as you're presenting, by doing that, you're going to be reducing their possibilities of doing it. I'm just saying this. What would your response be to that? You're going to say, well, you're going to be taking the possibility of all these Caucasian kids going to school, but so that some of the Latino base can go. What is your response to that?
Well, let's say, for example, you just talk about my program. In 4-H, most of the resources that we spend in 4-H, they go to the wealthy people. Okay? Most of the resources that we use, for example, most of our kids who benefit from 4-H, they are kids from wealthy families. These kids, they can pay for their service. And because we are serving the wealthy or the middle class families, there are thousands of kids in this situation. It's not that we're not going to serve them. It's that we have to allocate the resources that will be benefit the entire community in general. Because it's like sometimes when people receive scholarships, it's kind of the same thing. People that receive scholarships, either people who have the knowledge and the skills to be able to apply for those scholarships. There are children from parents who know how to apply for scholarships. There are children from parents that they know how to complete a FAFSA. And most of the parents of these kids, they don't know how to complete a FAFSA. So this kid, even though he can play the game, this is the kid that receives always the financial aid support. And this is the kid that always receives the benefits from 4-H. And this is the kids that receive most of the private scholarships just because they have already the GPA grade. Sometimes kids have the good GPA because they have good parents. Or they have parents with money they can help the kids with tutors, or they can send them to after-school programs to benefit them. But good question. You know,
so setting the context, so if we can go back to the agenda, Mario, if we can go back to the agenda, the context, the next thing is also what are some of the issues that I think is really important that we address. What are some of the issues that you're dealing with? Because each of us come up with different perspective, and I think it's important that we share that perspective. In the importance of time, we also want to do some dyad work, right? So we can kind of have some more meaningful conversations here. If we could all stand up a little bit, maybe we can, that would be great to be able to have a more one-on-one conversation, so we can work in pairs.
Before we do that,
Yeah.
I would like to compliment these pictures. Because I think that it is in our best interest to be informed of the things that are not happening, as well as the things that are happening. So when we talk about the university and what type of response are we receiving for the university, there are some things that are happening and that are very exciting and are very positive. So for example, I know that the university right now is extending the number of 4-H people to have one 4-H representative in each county who is bilingual in English and Spanish. And the reason for that is that they want to have contact right there with the communities to be able to understand the needs of the community and be able to respond to the needs. So that is something that is happening right now. The other thing that is happening is we just found out that we are going to hire a person that is going to be recruiting our students in our community who is going to be bilingual. That is fantastic. It was something that we really needed, that we pushed and we asked for that, and it's happening. We are also talking with the pre-college programs and other after-school programs to let them know how can we work together with the communities so that the Spanish-speaking population can benefit from your programs. The answer was every single Latino kid who applies to this program is accepted. Every single one of them. We see the students, our own students, being empowered and recognizing the needs of the community and saying, the tours that we offer at the university are terrible. They need to be culturally relevant and Spanish. And our own students are organizing themselves, getting trained and conducting the tours. So there are many, many good things that are happening. So I just want for all of us to keep that in mind as well, so that we don't start with the premise that nothing is happening and nobody's listening and nobody's trying to produce change.
Yeah, this is one of the things that I mentioned to Jen and the group that were just right there. One of the things that I see now is that now is the moment. It's the moment for all of us, to get together and work together to identify, different types of the strivers that we can help, to bring all these people, I would say Latino, all these people, up to the next level.
And just like Rigoberta Menchú said once, and I will never forget, don't ask me what I am doing to change the world. Please let me know what you are doing to change the world. Mm-hmm. So maybe we can also ask ourselves what each one of us is doing to accomplish the big task that we have.
Yeah, because the president is talking about it, the provost is talking about it, deans in different colleges, staff chairs in different colleges are talking about bringing more diverse population, to your colleges and departments. So this way it is the moment. So I'm glad that we are here, to study this possibility. How can we make this moment, grow and happen in the future.
One of the questions I want to ask as a student here at OSU is OSU prepared for the change, for the Latino growth? I mean, I know the cultural events for next year are going to be charging. They're going to be charged. So, where are the funds? I know Nita for next year, some of the cultural events will be charged. Is that correct, Nita?
Carmen was.
Carmen. And some of the cultural events are going to be fundraised instead of OSU giving funds. And also the question of having our own graduation as a Latino graduation. It's going to be, there's a question of, do we need one for each Latino, Asian Pacific? So I'm asking myself, if we're going to grow, and we're growing Latinos, how is OSU preparing for that change? Are we, at this point today, are we supporting the events? Or do we still have that mentality of questioning, is the Latino graduation necessary? So those are the questions I want to ask to you guys, as OSU prepare for this change. And how are we supporting that change?
Well, I think it's obvious that we're not ready. This is why we're together here, because we realize that there is a need, that we need to address. And it's not just one situation. There are many situations that we need to address, and as a group, this is the only way that we can resolve it. Because if I am in one office and they're in another, and Susanna in another, it will be very difficult for us to be able to resolve these issues. But if you say this is what we need, it's the university, situation. It's not just a program situation. It's the university. Well, it's a nationwide situation. So we need more people to help us there. So
I can say something.
Yes, yes.
Marriage program not only help young kids, help the adults too. Years ago, I was living in the one little town. So when Mario, we received information from Mario for this program, my husband, he was 37 years old, with 3 kids. So we received the information from Mario. My husband told me, "You think we can do it? We can try." For me, my answer for everything is, we can try. We moved to Corvallis with 3 kids. So my husband, he finished university, 2 degrees, in 2008. For 7 years, I support my husband. Right now, my daughter is a student in OSU, is sophomore. My son is freshman. My 3rd son, maybe he started 2 years. I don't say maybe, he started 2 years. Why? Because for me, I think the challenge is important. It's not only support for the community, it's the family support too. Because some parents, they think about how much is university? Please, don't think about how much. It's how much you want to finish university. So I support my husband, I support my kids, and I working in 2 jobs. Sometimes I am taking the English class because I can English. So I think one day, yes, I start university, maybe when my grandkids. I don't know. Yeah. So I can tell you, marriage program not only help young kids, adults too. So my husband, he was working in one company. If some people in this little town works in the onion factory, oh, it's good. And the others, oh, I am working in the potato factory. Oh, it's challenge. Okay. My husband told the people that I start university. Some Latinos told my husband, oh, I see you in 1 year here peeling potatoes. My husband told the people, no, I come back and I be a manager. Yes, come true. He's the supervisor now, and he's looking for a higher position now. So what happened is the family support, community support, and the program support like Mario Magaña. Thank you, Mario.
Thank you for coming. Very nice.
Thank you for sharing that. So the next thing on the agenda is definitely having more conversations. I think you started. I think appreciating what we're doing, I think, is really also an important place. We can
easier if people share them and you just capture them on the sheet, the kind of initiatives that are underway, and then to figure out how do we build on what's existing in order to pursue what you think is important to pursue for the future? I mean, then identify sort of what is the best direction to go.
So we put at the agenda.
So if we can just maybe have people talk about if we can capture some of the initiatives that are currently underway.
So it seems that one of our concerns is to opening the pipeline for our youth to be able to have access to the university. And there are programs all across the state with different names and organized by different Latino serving organizations and non-Latino serving Latinos. So like the Juntos program and Juntos Unidos and the Salem Kaiser Coalition for Equality, all those organizations are having programs that are, some of them working with youth, some of them working with youth and parents, some of them working with the entire unit. So we are now talking to them, trying to collaborate more to enhance our programs, to support each other. So I think that is on the way, that we really have that clearly in mind.
I wanted to share in the current initiatives. I can see here 2 students, you and Jessica, that are currently participating in the Fiestas project. So the Fiestas project is a collaboration between 4-H, that is Marios Magaña famous. So when Maria says Marios Magaña program, it's the 4-H Latino Outreach program that has been very successful. And Mario recruited me in 2011, and I started doing this Latino outreach, but I do different things. So I work in elementary schools in science, technology, engineering, and math. And what we have done is to bring college kids, like these 2 ladies. So they go to the 4-H kiddos that are 3rd to 5th grade, and they, work with them in any science, technology, engineering, and math project. And what we want to do is, Fiestas stands for Families Involved in Socioculturally Relevant Teaching. What we want to do is to see the culturally relevant thing in math or science and kind of to change the way we see it and the way we think about children, especially Latino children, as teaching force when we teach them. Because I think that part of the gap that we see in education is because of the system. It's not because of the Latino children, it's because of the way we see them. Because we sometimes see having a second language or an accent as a barrier, when in fact it's an asset. But in fact, these children are bilingual and they have accents and they have different way of thinking, they grew up different, they have a plasticity in their brain that allows them to be so brilliant if we just help them to discover that. So we are doing that currently in Benton County, and we just got a grant to expand that into Linn counties and to go to middle school. And the way the project works is that we bring OSU students to the schools. The OSU students work with the children as part of their assignment in some classes if they are going to be teachers in the College of Education. So it's part of their training. So they prepare a lesson, they go and deliver the lesson, and they videotape, and then they go back and reflect on how they taught. And it's amazing for the children. Just the fact of having a college kid teaching them is amazing. They are like, wow, so you are Beaver? Wow. And they fall in love with the ladies, and the little girls fall in love with the guys, and they, get super friends. And we have been also doing the Family Math and Science nights in Spanish, Arabic, and English, so as inclusive as we can with inter students and with Latina volunteers. So there are a lot of initiatives that we have locally in the community, because even if Corvallis is a wealthy, privileged community, we have a lot of pockets that we haven't reached yet. So we do have that going on.
So here in Corvallis and Linden?
Yeah, and it's going to start in Linn in August. That's Albany, the Calapooya Middle School. And currently it's at Garfield and Lincoln, and it's going to start also at the Boys and Girls Club. All the middle schoolers that go to the Boys and Girls Club in Corvallis and in Calapooya Middle School, Albany.
And then we have what Octaviano Merecias is doing in Washington County. That is something similar, but he works with robotics and with technology. But it's the same concept. Here is a graduate of that program.
Octavio himself is a diversity graduate.
One of the things I see is the different support systems throughout either here at OSU and outside the community. Something that would be very helpful for me is to have one center, one thing, one place where I know we have different groups, programs for young youth, but how can we put the effort, the funds, the power, the motivation to reach out to Latinos and other communities, but within one place where I can go and say, you know what can we do? I mean, as an effort instead of individual. Because I know there's going to be far more progress through Alliance and to reach out to different communities, not only Latinos, but essentially that where I can go and say, you know what, this is a fellowship I can apply, or this is an opportunity you can do. Because through mentorships, I know I wouldn't be here either through camp. I was a camp scholar last year, and I know I wouldn't be here without the support of the GMS scholarship that I got through 4-H, which Mario Magaña told me about it. I mean, through mentorships of one place, I know we're going to be able to have and reach a greater path if we all get to one program, one goal, instead of little programs and combine an effort together.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Jessica. You know, I think there is a potential, you know, to bring massive, you know, numbers of middle school and high school students to OSU to learn about career options, career opportunities, financial aid, admissions. Last spring break, we bring about 750 people to a soccer tournament, where people were doing one workshop, one game, one workshop, one game, one workshop, and one game. If they were not doing a workshop, they were going touring the OSU campus, where they were able to see the stadium, the gym, the library, the administration. Those opportunities just for kids to expose them to a campus is a huge thing. And the same thing, we brought the parents and the kids all together. So those are the things. I think somebody mentioned, or Señora Marichi mentioned about, you know, the family thing. When these parents were here, they were so happy to be able to have the opportunity to be in a university campus and their kids to receive this educational opportunities information. You know, 4-H has office in each county. We have the potential to bring, you know, 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 people to this campus at any date of the time. But again, you know, we have to join all our colleges and departments in the Latinos, so everybody who is interested in bringing or educating the Latino community. Because, you know, it is just a call. You know, the Latino community is eager, is ready to jump. You know, we have to deny about 20 teams at this spring break that want to come and play soccer. If we were allowed these 20 teams, we'll have more than 3,000 people in the campus. And we were providing meals, and we have no money, you know, to provide meals to the people. We have no money to pay for referees. We have no money to pay for the soccer fields. Everything costs thousands of dollars, you know. So, and most of the time, you know, programs, they are limited on funding. If we do not collaborate, as Jessica said, with all different programs, colleges and departments, it will be impossible for any of us, you know, to be able to bring this amount of people to be informed, to be educated. That's one of the things that I see in our state or in the Latino families. It's not that we don't want to go to college. It's not that we are not smart. It's that we do not know about the opportunities. We lack about information that will help us, our children and our families, to succeed. To me, that's the issue. We have to provide this information either in their homes or bring them to a campus where we can provide this information to them.
So I have a question, Mario, and I think it goes back to something that Lauren said about the extension offices that we have throughout Oregon. So if I'm correct, you said that they will be hiring bilingual people in all of the extension offices. And so one of the pieces, I was just in a meeting today about information about Oregon State University getting to communities, and they had done some research on that. And of course, the numbers weren't that good. Okay, the returns on the data showed that not very many Oregonians in different parts of the state know about OSU Extension. And so the question was raised, how many of the participants in your study were bilingual or spoke Spanish? And of course they answered, oops, well, not very many, the respondents. So that says that we do need to have better outreach in the extension units. I'm glad to hear that they will be hiring people, but those individuals have to be proactive, and there must be a connection between the extension unit and the home campus about information that is shared with the community. So I think kind of going back to, I do understand what you mean about specific communities not receiving information. Having gone out to Eastern Oregon, I've seen it firsthand. You and I were there together.
Yes.
We've talked about this issue before. And so I think one of the key components or key partners in our initiatives and initiative building, as we think about our shared future together, is our partnership with outreach and engagement and extension. And so what kinds of partnerships can we create with them that add value in these communities outside of the campus? So I do think that that is very, very important.
And I think that one of the things that probably is part of this meeting is, how can we utilize, thousands of OSU alumni, all over the state.
Exactly.
Because there are many alumni people at Oregon State, regardless if they are Latinos, African Americans, Native Americans. They are people that they are willing to contribute in some way or the other, but we haven't asked them. We haven't involved them, and I think this is one of the things that John is asking, why we are not utilizing, the resources, of all these alumni, people in the state.
I was out there doing some work for rural development initiatives. I was employed with them, but it was really dream work, right? Being out there in those impoverished communities, but in their eyes, they knew that they had some issues to overcome. That's when I thought that OSU had a stronger presence also in Eastern Oregon, but also it was it wasn't a strong presence. And that's when I came back, that's the conversation that we started, Dr. Roper. I said, man, there's some communities, because I stopped working with that nonprofit, because also the need is so huge. That nonprofit had received about $500,000 to do some work in the Latino community, but the need was so huge that even that organization wasn't ready to expand. And that was the fact. That's why I said, you know what? Some communities want to even hire me. I feel even worse because I'm usually accustomed to doing work for free, right, out in the community. And it was very difficult to even say, you know what, I can do consulting work. I can go out there. That's when I also talked to Mario. Mario, what's happening in Eastern Oregon? I talked to Octaviano. Octaviano, what's happening in Eastern Oregon? And people, that's when I said, I think we have a huge need, and I think we need to go about collaborating more and definitely talking about the resources and allocations or better use of alumni. That's when I also contacted Agustin. Agustin, what can we do? He goes, I am swamped in my industry too. So every time that I take off time, it's very difficult. And that's when we started engaging also with Casa Latinos Unidos, because almost all the different organizations in the community, they're saying, gosh, we want, where are the resources? Where, how can we partner up with different organizations? How can we do some more collaborations? And ultimately, sometimes we lack capacity. We lack capacity to kind of do that more, serving of Latinos. So here we have people from, if you can kind of go around the room, and where are people coming from? Some people are here from Corvallis. Is there some other people that are coming from the outside? Just to kind of get a better feel of who's in the room. So, Eastern Oregon? Forest Grove?
Arizona.
Arizona?
Salem. Me and my cousin, Salem.
Benjamin?
Portland.
Portland. Is this common across, that you're seeing that in your communities, whether in Eastern Oregon, Salem, that sometimes there's not enough resources or not enough?
Yes. Can I say something?
Yeah.
Well, I'm from Portland, Southeast Portland, and we have the Aztec dance group. we call me Shikatiawi with the bronze here in the university with Adrian Castro and Rigoberto. And Rigoberto always teach me, I didn't go to school, and he always teach me and tell me about the university and how the students has to work hard. And they talk about work to do that, you know, or to get some money to go to the university or to have different things. And so that was 10 years ago when I hear that, and it kind of like, I didn't understand. I didn't even speak no English, so it's kind of hard. But now it's been 10 years learning, working with the young ones and the community. I'm a leader of the group now, and then back then the children was like 6 years. Now they're 16. And now they're asking me, what am I going to do when I go to university? It's hard. My mom works, my dad works, but it's not enough money. And there's like 6 or 7 kids in my group that they want to come here to university. They say, one of them say, I'm a beaver, but I don't know what I'm going to do when I get up there. And it's our job, and like as a member or taking care of the community, I try to teach them, to encourage them to be strong enough mentally, physically, spiritually. Because I told them, when you go out there and when you see there is no help for you, you have to be strong. You don't have to give up. But when you graduated, you have to give it back to the community also. It's not just to come here and go outside and I'm a doctor or I'm a lawyer. And that's it. No, you have to give it back to the community. Also learn your culture. It's very important. That's make you strong. So right now we have that situation that we're trying to encourage them to go to school. Some of them, they don't want to go to school no more after the high school. They say the system, they believe in the system that they're going to be, ¿cómo se dice? Que no los van a aceptar.
They're going to be rejected.
Because there's no opportunities for them. So we create a non-profit organization. The same community we created, we call it Floricanto. And then the purpose of that is to teach ourselves and to teach our children and our community that we can do more things. They can work as in the non-profit. That's one little example. But they can work on more things to create more opportunity for them. But if the school provides those opportunities to them, it will be more easy for them to keep going on school. So I see a lot of indiferencia when about the students, but we believe that we teach our children they can make it, they can do it, and then at least they say, oh, you cannot do it. No, you cannot do it. We have to encourage them, but we need help for these facilities to make them believe it, that they're going to make it, they're going to be successful at school. But they have to be more open to the students. So I think that's but
good point. Any other community that is experiencing that? Sometimes the need is great and it's difficult. I think being in education, I know San Juana works out there also in the Woodburn school district, and it's a huge need. She's even afraid of moving to another. She wants to be in Portland. She shared that with me, but it's like difficult. How do you leave a community behind, because you're usually one of the very few that's doing cutting edge work or really working with to improve. So it's very difficult. Thank you for sharing.
So I wanted to share a little bit, about my work with the community. Probably over a decade ago, work as providing substance abuse and mental health to the community. And at the time when I started, I was working in Independence, I was working in Salem and Staten, and then finally moved to Woodburn. And I started with a caseload probably like around 20 people. And then that caseload, just keep increasing until like finally to be like around 42 people. And we closed the doors, and by the time, I was here ready to leave, I have 4 or 5 people, waiting for me. Yes, and so it was so much stress, that at one point I had to kind of just leave my job because I was doing the job of probably more than 2 people. And one of the biggest problems we have is that we didn't have places where we could, refer people for mental health issues. There weren't any Latinos, that were providing those services that were bilingual. I had to work and put in so much work, that like the stress was at one level that I had to leave my job. And when I left, they keep asking me to go back, but I was kind of trying to focus on my family. And at the end, the building just closed. They put it for sale, and we just have a community, in a very big need, but there wasn't people, that can provide a service. And we're talking about training professionals to provide a service. And when we're talking about different organizations that provide service to the Latino, we're talking about the work they do, they do work for 2-3 people, because we're not preparing people to help in the community, so that we want to share that with you.
And unfortunately, that situation is going to increase if we don't apply that equity philosophy here, because the population are going to increase in the amount of professionals and the resources are not being allocated. So the situation is most likely to increase than really reduce.
So the question is, this is really complex. Is with all of this, how do you create an agenda, a leadership agenda for outreach? So who are the people who need to be around the table? It's great to be able to understand the scope of the problem, but eventually you have to get it at scale to say what is it that we can fight off, and where can we work to actually achieve some results, rather than trying to solve the entire. Just the scope of it is so big.
Yeah.
That until you define an area where you're trying to have a direct impact, you'll end up sort of repeating the same kind of thing that Augustine talked about. There's sort of lots of overwhelm, but very little impact. So I think that's the important, from my perspective, that's the important conversation. So what is the scale of impact that you think we can have, and where do you think the most meaningful work can and should be done?
I think that what I really feel that needs to be done is information and education. Because most of the Latino families, they know 2 things. The college is difficult and college is expensive.
Yes.
Right? So we have to change this attitude among the Latino community. The yes, college is expensive but can be paid. The yes, college is difficult but can be done. Because most of us have done that. So how can we inform, our families about the resources available? But at the same time, how can we prepare these kids with the skills and knowledge that they need to apply for financial aid, for college, to improve their grades in the school, to have a positive, attitude about education, since they are kids. Because sometimes by the time they're in middle school and they're in high school, sometimes it's too late. They already have been discouraged by their teachers, by their parents, and by some other kids who haven't been able to succeed in life. So it seems to me that we have to, as I mentioned before, we have to do a massive, educational opportunities for as much people as possible. About the opportunities and about helping them to develop the skills. Because I have invited, when I was in Morrow County in Salem, I invite many people, recruits from different colleges and universities to talk about the Latino community, about college. But they just go and talk for 30 minutes about financial aid and admissions and the requirements. What the Latino community learn with 30 minutes presentation? Nothing. Nothing. It's wasting the university's time, it's wasting the university money, and it's wasting the family's time and our time. We have to create programs where kids can develop the skills, the confidence, and the capacity for these kids to be able to apply for scholarships, write essays, apply for universities, but also develop the confidence about the yes I can. And also we talk about sometimes empower them. It's another thing that we have to and that comes with sometimes things related with cultural identity. When just was talking about graduation, people need to have their own identity to be able to feel strong and be able to feel powerful and be able to succeed in life. So how can we create programs that are very target, very focused with content that will help our families and our children to succeed? But again, I agree with you. How much can we buy? I'm sure myself cannot buy that much, or yourself, but with all of us, we can make a big bag.
And that's what I was trying to. That's where my point was going to go. So so who do we need to get around the table to figure out exactly what is the initiative, or what are the initiatives that we undertake to create the kind of education that the university can do? I mean, we can't do that for every university, but from our perspective, how do we provide sort of some kind of plan to do outreach and education to inform at the level that you talk about?
Jeff Sherman is already doing that. Jeff Sherman with Open Campus is already doing that. So talk to Jeff. That initiative is already underway.
Yeah, well,
can I just throw in
the thing is that those initiatives are very small. Again, Jeff cannot do it. There's
Mario, it has to start someplace.
Yes,
it started in Madras, now it has moved to Hood River, now it has moved to Tillamook, it's moving to Corrales, it's moving.
Yeah, I'm working with Jeff. We're writing a proposal together. We're going to start a new program.
So let's continue with that. Let's continue with that because that is something that is on the way.
Yeah, but a housekeeping item before we move on, because we reserved from...
So
we're kind of getting close to the time, and I know that there's another group that they just asked me to relay the message that we kind of.
You're going to kick us out?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think let's go back with Larry, Lauren. I think we should start thinking about big, community impact or university impact, because Jeff himself and I himself, we cannot do that much. We have to get all together. Go ahead.
So this young lady. It's just something. I come from Forest Grove, and I didn't really when I first came here to Oregon, I really didn't know anything about universities or higher education. And then I came with the OMLI program, which is a program hosted by CAMP, and after that, I learned about MECHA, 4-H, and all of these other programs. And something that I see that really worked in my community is 4-H, which is a program from OSU, working with the organizations that are in the local community. 4-H works really closely with Centro Cultural of Washington County, with Adelante Chicas, with Mecha, and what I see in my community is a network of organizations working together, and something that the university can do, that it's in our hands. And first, get a group of the leaders that are here in the university, and talk about the issues that are in our communities. And then outreach to, I feel like the easier way to outreach to other communities is to go directly to the leaders in those communities and work with them and learn the issues that they have, and learn where do people get together, where do conversations happen, and they're working in those conversations is where the information can get across. Like students from OSU can go to other communities and talk to parents, talk to students, and tell them like how their experience coming to OSU, and like that's I think that's working OSU working with the programs, organizations, and with the leaders in other communities. I think that's like the best way we can outreach to the Latino communities and to any other communities.
Very, very important point. I know when we were students here, back several years, we created some programs that also, like Calmeca, community outreach program. We were concerned about that because there was so much education about Latinos in our community that we needed to, stop some of the myths in the community that Latinos did not want. Because sometimes we would ask high schools, how many college-bound Latinos out of their whole population? Said, oh, we don't have many, one or two. And many of the students kept on calling other student organizations and, hey, we heard you guys talk here, there, or in Mecha. And that's when we said, you know what, we need also as students, we need an initiative, because you're right. I think when we were students here, Lauren, you weren't here, and we were concerned about creating new programs that brought new energy to campus, that also address the needs of the community. And I think, many of us are here from different programs. We're not saying reduce the programs. We're saying let's collaborate, but also let's talk about budgets. And let's talk about who needs to be in the room at a deeper level to make sure that the funding is there. Because bottom line, why we're here is also OSU had a great fundraising plan. Their goal was 600. There's 400,000, 400 million, that they went over their proposed ask. Also, what we're saying is, how do we guide? We don't tell the university what to do with its funds, but I think the priorities, putting the priorities of the universities with the communities. If we were in a community that didn't need it, if we're in a growing community, we wouldn't be, kind of calling this meeting, because I think it's really, important that we have some issues. I think there's some, we don't want to minimize anything that's being done. Never want to do that. But I think maximizing what we can do so that we can get to impact. Out there's an idea of collective impact that we also want to address, because the needs are such that honestly we just need to put in more resources or more collaborations. But it's a larger conversation. You're right, Dr. Roper. It's a larger conversation that needs to happen, and we haven't even heard from Susana what they're doing, and what also Casa is doing, or how some of the transformations in Casa Latina, the OSU, how are the transformations happening? Because to be honest, we're also concerned about some of the changes that are happening in the university and how that will impact OSU's effectiveness with Latinos, and we're concerned, and people from the community are also concerned. Hey, what's going to happen with some of the programs? Is there going to be a decrease or an increase? Some people are starting to say, hey, there's an increase. We're starting to see the need, and we're starting to meet those needs. I think when it's powerful when we start informing each other of what's happening, and I think that creates more of a sense of, hey, this is what's happening, here's how we can connect. But I think all of us are here concerned about it, and we want to do something that's proactive, not just reactive, which I think is why we're here. So the next steps, what are the next steps? What are the next meetings?
I think there's, from my perspective, there's two conversations that need to occur. Okay. I think one is to just to give clarity and form to the outreach efforts, to be able to just get folks together to really be able to map out what's being done and to see where are the opportunities for leveraging or for increasing our impact there. The second is around student success and support programs. I mean, it's one thing to say that 1 in 4 students who will be graduating in 2020 will be Latino, but so outreaching to those students is one thing. There's another thing to say what are our current services and supports, what do they currently look like, and having a conversation about that so we can give a real clear description about where we are with those things, and then where are the places where we need future development. I think we have to start from where we're, I think Lauren did a really good job of where we currently have efforts underway, and think about how do we leverage those things and enhance those, rather than starting from the assumption that we have somehow we can invent. That maybe some of the inventing has been done. Now it's about expanding or enhancing where some of the work is already being done. But then we haven't had much talk at all about the students who are currently on campus, or the students who arrive, and what kind of services and supports are there to make sure that the students are successful, and their needs are being responded to. And so, and I think that there are a large number of people on campus who are involved in both levels of work already. And how do we get those folks together to sort of map things out, and then to present that, if we want to have another community conversation, to present that as a community conversation. So we're starting with a shared background of understanding, rather than having different levels of information about what's going on at the university, because I think we end up, quite frankly, wasting a lot of time because of all the assumptions and the misinformation or unevenness in information that people have about what's really going on. I don't know, maybe someone else has a different perspective.
One of the things in the proposal, where we're kind of like proposing, is creating a much larger department and a stronger one where it duplicate, the number of professors are here for the Latinos that are coming, so they can identify themselves, with them, and on top of that, we can build all the outreach programs. But I think we need to have a much larger professors, and we can just ask, I don't know, Latinos, people in position that have been, that are in 10 years, that are not afraid to speak for the students, that can support the students. We can ask those questions on how many Latinos are 10 years. Can we count them? I mean, how many Latinos are, they won't be afraid to talk and to support, the students.
Yeah, how many? 3?
We prepare them. We prepare them, to go to the world, and a lot of them are struggle. When I was here, over close to 2 decades ago, all the classes I took, I don't remember barely see any professors that look like me. Most of my classes on political science, I just sat by myself. And that still happens, and so we need to create, programs, departments that are like much larger than the one that we have, and around them we can build all those outreach programs. But we need the students feel welcome when they come here and identify, themselves. And so that, I think, that's one of the things that we would like to see in the proposal. The outreach program, we can build them around, but the student needs to feel welcome to come here towards you. And if we don't have that number, I don't know, like the Chicanas or Latinas, indigenous, if they don't see the Latinas, they don't have 10 years here, that's one of the things. So our proposal is to really build, to duplicate, those programs, and no is diminishing, a lot of the students just start taking, some of the classes, like in the ethnic studies. They would like to see more. They want to see more about the culture. So we need to build that, in order to be able to do all the other ones, all the outreach, and prepare them, to go into, to become professional and to serve to the Latino community. So we need to see the numbers and to duplicate them, and make it stronger. So we need to bring people that know how to do that. That can help us sit at the table and design a much larger and stronger program, so we can deal with those numbers and the issue. So that's, I think, next step, we have to think about it, but we need to see with the president and start talking about, see like increases the number of Latino Chicano professors. So,
Don Juan tenía.
Yeah, I'm curious about, I keep hearing about a proposal. Is this a public document? How do I access it? Has everyone here seen it? Are we all familiar with it? And if not, it's kind of difficult to forge a direction, a coordinated effort, if no one knows what the core requests are.
No trajeron copias.
Yeah, I have one. You can put it on the projector, but let's ponerlo para acá. So you have a connection. So part of the projector is to part of the proposal is also making sure that there's a lot of areas that OSU encompasses, and I think the more. As a teacher, I started doing economic development work with a nonprofit because there was in the Latino community, where the jobs were scarce. Instead of being job seekers, you had to be job creators. So entrepreneurship was an area that also part of economic development. Let me see if I can get the proposal up so that people can see also what I'm talking about.
Susana, ¿no? Una de las cosas, I'm sorry, one of the things that I have been, kind of upset about the situation of OSU is that the Latinas in tenure track. It is, kind of embarrassing, to see that we have only 3 Latinas, in tenure track in the entire university. More than 3,000 employees, have only 3 Latinas in tenure track. Those things need to be changed. We cannot continue, with that situation because that creates the situation that Agustin is talking about it. If we don't have Latinas in tenure, they will be afraid, to speak up and really exercise their rights or advocate for the people that they really believe that they to be advocate for. So, those are the things that we should bring to the table. How can we increase, the number of Latinas in tenure track, so they can feel more safe.
This part of it, just at the beginning, but there's different areas that definitely I think needs to be that we were trying to address also because of the economy. We also wanted to make sure how was OSU dealing with the economic, the educational, cultural, technological, leadership, health, civic learning, and development. Some of you have mentioned that there's some efforts underway. But also it's not just getting the degree, but also knowing where to get the jobs, also some of the connections that often Latinos don't have, unfortunately. So those are some of the realities that happen, So so those of you that have gone through higher education, where are the jobs, where's also some of the programs. So sometimes we have to be creating some new things that are going to be also providing that innovation, that innovation, so that also new areas are created to meet the needs of the community. Sometimes those jobs that are going to meet the needs are not there. How do we create them? How do we also engage the university with your entrepreneurship program? How do we start, different ways that we can actually address it? So it's not in. Yeah.
Pues levantarlo un poquito,
Yeah, ¿Me puede entender en inglés? ¿Quiere que te traduzca algo?
No sé si...
¿Está bien?
Sí.
Vale. And so that there's a more systematic, and I think the key is OSU being such an important institution in the state and being also in the land grant status, there's a lot of things that can be done, It definitely is going to take some resources, it's going to take some effort, it's going to take some collaboration and getting to know, who's out there in the community and how we're going to also support some of the existing organizations or nonprofits that are out there in the community to help us in this work. Right?
Who put this proposal together?
This was put together by OSU alumni students, also with the experience of over 20 years and also collaborating, doing some work in the community, so that represent some of the people that, from different parts of of Oregon. To give you also more context, this is also in collaboration with some of the work that we have done here as students and also alumni, creating new programs, talking to the university in the past about increasing. So before, some of you were here now as professors or working with the OSU, we were also concerned that OSU did not have enough diversity and representation. Difficult conversation. So we were saying, has that improved to meet the needs of the Latino community? So we work with Rigoberto, with also some other alumni that were also out in the field. We were talking at work and done some mentoring with some of the OSU alumni like Octaviano. We also talked to Agustin. We also had several conversations with Mario. We also even, been engaged also with Oscar throughout the time of some of his work that he has done, with Dr. Roper. How do we address these needs? So it's not necessarily reflective of individuals, but more some of the collective issues that we have seen as a community.
Okay, thank you. The reason I want to say that is because I want to go back to something that Juan
Dr. Juan.
And Larry said, and I think Loren has alluded to this, and that's when we want to create change in a system, institutional change. I think it's really crucial that the people who are going to sit around the table to provide some recommendations are really well informed about what's happening. Because the last thing you want to do is put a proposal forward and have someone go bullet by bullet and say, well, we're doing this, this is happening there, this is happening there, this is happening there.
Right.
So I think it's really important, going back to what you said, Larry, that we all have some common ground, and that we begin by educating ourselves in terms of what is happening, how has policy changed, what are some of the efforts, particularly in the last 4 to 5 years, very recent, but very intentional and very passionate and very powerful, so that instead of reinventing the wheel, we can really strengthen some of the efforts that are happening.
Yes.
So on the one hand, I agree. I think that we need to begin by educating ourselves, understanding the current stage, reassessing the true needs so that we can see where the current state of affairs are and where there might be alignment or misalignment in what we're trying to do. Point one. Point two, I like to work what might be considered a little backwards on things. I like to start by asking, what is the vision of success? Let's begin by saying, what would OSU look like if we no longer needed to come together to have these conversations? And then what do we need to get there? Where do we strengthen? Where do we collaborate? Where do we form partnerships? Where do we build to get to that point? And that's another area where we have to kind of bring about consensus of what does that look like for us. Not individually, what do I want to happen?
Right.
But collectively, what will that look like at an institutional level? So I'm very interested in institutional change, because that brings me to point three, which is something you brought up, Agustin, and I thought was incredibly important. The demographics of OSU will change, even if we do nothing about it. Even if we do zero recruitment from here on out, they will change because the demographics are changing. And this is a wave, this is a tsunami that is not going to stop at OSU doors. So we don't have to worry about, will they come? They will come, okay? But if we don't create a climate and an environment that is supportive, that is welcoming, that is respectful, and that honors differences, it doesn't matter if they come, because they'll drop out immediately after. So there's that other side of the coin, in which we also have to simultaneously start working on what is the environment that we want to create that will benefit not only Latinos, but all communities of color. And then to address one of your concerns, absolutely, the demographics of students are outnumbering currently, K through 12 and in higher ed, the demographics of the teachers and the faculty and the staff. That is a national statistics. We're going to have many more students of diverse backgrounds compared to the diversity of the workforce that is supposed to support those students. So to that effect, Larry and I have been involved in the very current intentional, again, initiative that the provost has put forward of hiring 30 new faculty. And for the first time in the 7 years that I have been here, and maybe even before that, Mary, you would know, this hiring of 30 new faculty, okay, tenure track, will focus on 2 areas, which we were part of the group that made this recommendation to the president and the provost. And the 2 areas are diversity hires and student success. Okay? So we have an opportunity to really shift what we're doing. And that relates to what you said, Mario, and that you're absolutely right. This is the moment. The moment is paying attention to the demographics that are coming our way. It is a national conversation. It is a statewide conversation. We're working with extensions to reinvent themselves, to re-envision what they're doing, so that it is community-driven, it is community-based. Communities are finding us. That's another thing. We don't even have to go out there. They're coming to us, knocking at the door saying, how can we partner with you? And there are many of us sitting in this room whose philosophy is, how do we leverage the resources of this institution to better serve our communities? And that's also a shift in philosophy. So one of the things I want to challenge you or the group that eventually will sit around is, begin by really understanding some of the recent changes that have happened in the last 4 years, and then base a really solid proposal on how do we increase capacity. Okay? Because again, our biggest challenge isn't a lack of good ideas.
Right.
It isn't a lack of great programs that we have that we could list very easily. Our challenge is, how do we work together, collaborate, even within our own Latino community, so that we can actually come together in united front, so that we can pull resources strategically to move very intentionally projects forward that will continue to improve the momentum that we're already building in these last weeks.
Absolutely. Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you for adding that. I think that's a conversation that would be also welcome, and there's more people that also want to collaborate with you. Absolutely.
I will have to leave, but as an alumni, I encourage you to do 2 things. In the 17 years, 18 years now that I have been at OSU, several of you were my students and now you are siblings here. Our hope is you. Our hope to have PhD Latino people that we can recruit to come to the university is you. So we need to get going on that, okay? Getting the people with the credentials and the preparation so that we can hire you. And the other thing, when we talk about all the money that the university has been able to put together, let's embrace the philosophy that is very prevalent in the Pacific Northwest by the dominant culture of giving. Let's give up our salaries. Now that we have graduated and now that we are fully, gainfully employed, let's give money. Let's give the resources that we need to have more of our students come to the university. So it is my belief that we should be the first ones, by example, to do it. So let's put together the money. I know that Oscar is working with Angelo to get money to fund the students that are falling into the cracks, that they don't get DACA and they are not citizens. Let's find the money to help the ones that need to be here the most and have no support whatsoever. So, my 10 cents.
Before you go, and I think you're absolutely right, masters and PhDs would be welcome, and so also the support when we understand the needs of the community. So we're talking about also leveraging, financial support that is within the OSU so that we can also support these students. I think that there's a lot of people that want to come back or finish their masters, but at the same time, I think it also goes beyond the financial support, which is critically important, but how do we support people that are going through and getting their masters? Because eventually, we will need also some people guiding the students to make sure that they're well supported and that they can finish, but financially, if we're recreating, some issues where, say, opportunity, we also need to provide support for those students, because some of the students are coming from, those communities that don't have, the financial support. So I think it's great, and I think the conversation, again, needs to continue. So I welcome, we welcome, I think, just the dialogue, and so thank you you know, Dr. Roper for that. Agustin, you want to say?
We just have the closing statement, or we can like.
Yeah, and I think the question, I mean, one of the things we need to commit to is who's going to convene the next, because we need an on-campus conversation. That's what we just need, is for somebody who's going to convene that. Because I don't want to automatically assume that I'm the one who's convening that conversation, so I want to see if there's anyone else who's.
Well, I think that conversation should be convened by the Intercultural Student Services Office. And so what we will do is find some of our campus friends who I know were originally invited, and we'll make sure that they get an invitation for the next community meeting. I think, I guess the question I have is who should we be in contact here? Would that be Adrian or Mario to start setting the date and getting communications out to people?
I think an important piece is also including the community in those conversations, or at least
I think the original campus conversations really is about pulling together all of the information about everything that's going on, and using that as a basis for the next community conversation.
Got it.
So it's really more of a, whether it's slides or whatever, but to pull together a presentation to say, just on all the areas that you talked about, here are the kinds of things that are going on. And here's the scope, and then the conversation, if the scale or the scope of those isn't wide enough, but they need to be, so where do we need to broaden or intensify efforts?
Dr. Walker, I know that we're leaving, you know, and so we really need to know that the person that's replacing you know the work that will be done, and so they can continue working with us, you know. So that's one of the biggest.
Yeah, I invited her, but she had another commitment this evening.
And she will be part of these conversations.
So maybe we have like a closing statement, or Agustin, I don't know if he's there.
Agustin?
Yeah, Agustin. You know, and then we'll just take actually doing probably is working. I would like to set a meeting with the person who will replace you, you know, and just kind of meeting her and so we can just continue working on the next step, you know, so we don't get lost in that process, so she will get aware.
And maybe in the process determine whether or not she's the person to work. I'm not sure who really is the right person to work with, because it's so, such an institution-wide that.
And Dr. just sometimes the difficulties in it, and I want to honor just everyone that's here, but sometimes the openness that we've also had with people also from the administration, and also Roper has usually stepped up to the plate of also inviting and being very welcome to these comments, you know. And I think that's why we're, you know, out of respect, we've also presented this proposal as a way, hey, can we also be included in the conversation? We understand that there's some great, you know, things happening at OSU, but we also want to find out, and also just to make sure that they're also meeting the needs out there in the community, because the needs are great. And so I agree. You know, we just want to continue in the conversation.
Well, Agustin, we will send a closing statement, but Agustin haven't. But I also, one of the things that I want to, you know, let you know that through all these years, when I was in college, and probably through all these years that you have been very supportive to the Latinos, and I really want to thank you for that, you know, and I really appreciate that. So at the time when I was in college, and through this year, so you know, being very supportive, so I want to thank you for that.
And the vision has been set, the bar has been set really high, you know, with also engaging, you know, with the university, and also just getting input. And as students, sometimes the message is, like, you guys are students that learn as much as possible. We also bring, you know, some great information to the table that we also want to provide, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 minutes.
We got
3 minutes.
Hi everybody, my name is Agustin. We're just going to ask to give kind of the closing remarks that we have here tonight before we close out. Just remember everything that we've gone over, and then looking forward to all the things that will come after this. So, most importantly, this is the best time right now to unite and work together to develop new programming models that will serve the Chicana, Chicano, Latina, Latino, and indigenous communities and programs here at OSU at the undergraduate, graduate, and doctoral level, as well as in the community. With the completion of this new building, this is the best time to start giving back to the children of Cesar Chavez and all those others that have helped us to get here, especially our students and our communities. We have the information. The statistics show that the Latino population is the fastest growing here in the U.S. And this is the best time as OSU, as a land-grant institution, to step up on a commitment to their mission and vision, to provide the tools that our students need to succeed in the local, national, and international levels. This is the best time to work collaboratively to reach a common goal, to make this a better place for our generations to come. And we need to clarify the steps necessary to achieve this.
Thank you.